We're talking Friday
supposed
morning.
to get bad.
Okay, it's 5:30 and we are gathered here for our workshop, so we can go ahead and kick it off and we'll start with roll call.
Mercer,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Griswold,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Crampton,
Here.
Robertson.
Here.
Okay. We called the workshop here, gather in front of the public to talk about whether or not we, with this chicken ordinance and to have some public discussion and council discussion. And I think well, we left it with council to research any issues they had, and we have some talking points here. I don't know if you want to talk on anything, Jim, to start off with, or leave it up to council, maybe go around the table and see what you guys come up with.
Probably more if they had any questions.
Yeah,
I guess.
Start with council and then go through, see if anybody has any questions of what they had come up with.
Start with you, Rich.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Rick.
so, House Bill, in the last, council meeting or two council meetings ago was brought to our attention, House Bill number 4049 and House Bill 4050. Are those currently, Michigan ordinances?
You know what, I didn't have a chance to research whether they were or not, but my understanding of them was they were more very generic.
Yeah.
When it came to, it was more of just kind of allowing it in a generic sense, and it would still have to be specifically tailored to a city if they wanted it. So
Did you look them
that's
up,
kind of
Randy?
where we're at.
To my knowledge, neither one's made it out of agriculture, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, having said that, just some thoughts I had, following the, House Bill 4049 and 4050. If it does go through, it looks like that we have to allow chickens, according to what I've read here. So, kind of their guidelines, must have at least a quarter of an acre, no more than 5 hens, per every quarter of an acre. And then in addition, no businesses, no slaughtering of chickens. And then
roosters.
the offsets of the pens or coops and the feces. I was reading up on the chicken feces or manure. That could be an issue if it runs off, for during heavy rains. So that's something that we need to consider, because I've heard it getting people sick for various reasons. So that's just my thought. I think if we allow them, we really have to have strict rules on how it's going to be handled, and inspections of the coops and pens, the offsets, the feces, the water runoff, that sort of thing.
To start off with, that if that does go through, that I do agree that we might have to be required to permit them. But as it stands right now, chickens are banned within the city.
Correct.
Yes, as per the council's interpretation of existing ordinances that came down to chickens are not commonly kept as pets.
Well, it also expressly precludes domestic fowl, which
Yes.
is a chicken.
Yep. But going on that, I do echo some of his sentiments there. And further, one of the major concerns that came to mind, aside from the fact that overall we're talking about nuisance here, the concern over vermin. Between the waste, feed, and other elements of it, there is the concern over attracting vermin. We do have a fair amount of wetland and forest in and adjacent to our residential areas. And right now, and they are full of rats. They stay there right now, but depending upon what things are done, they could be given a reason to come out amidst our houses. So I do feel that similarly very strict requirements should be placed to ensure at combating that specifically. Not just ensuring that, for instance, feed often is brought up, it needs to be secured, but even perhaps considering limitations on it, because most chicken feed, for instance, is sold in bags, usually like 40 pounds typically, and that would be anybody handling those for any short amount, as in leaving them out and such, would be a concern for rats and such getting in. And once you get them, they're hard to get rid of. So that is probably one of my chief concerns here. But also just the note that as it is, it's banned right now. So if we don't do anything, nothing changes unless Michigan were to pass those, the state legislature were to pass those bills.
Okay. Marcy?
Yeah, as I've expressed explicitly 2 meetings now, I'm in favor of adopting hens only with no roosters at all. We have a list of things that that we're talking about here. We can go down and address all of those. I think this is a pretty exhaustive list of things to consider. So first of all, whether or not we want to accept chickens. And so I don't really have anything further to say until we're ready to discuss it. Again, I do believe that we should have hens only with a required minimum lot size, a coop, a permit, and basically everything that's on these talking points I agree with. If you want me to read those or if there's going to be further discussion to go down the list there. Also, it looks like the council received an email from a resident that was unable to make it here, and I just wanted to say it was a very exhaustive email. It was 4 pages long, and in that email, the resident discussed many of the talking points, but all in all, it looked like the resident was in favor of chickens with strict guidelines, which is what we are planning to talk about now. So I don't know if we want to get into that or how we want to discuss that.
Well, I'll just piggyback on that email. The resident did do a lot of research, and I kind of looked up some of the stuff because I learned myself, and I just think it's important. I'm neither here nor there with chickens. I do think no roosters with limited size lots, hens only, the same thing. But I think the public needs to know a couple things, the points that were made in this email that even I didn't know. Obviously, number one point that was brought up in one of the other meetings is, chickens can be nuisance. And the point that they were making is dogs are also nuisance too. That was brought up. Well, dogs can be brought in a house. Chickens cannot be brought into a house and quieted down. They brought up that a hen will lay approximately 5 to 6 eggs per week, and hens will lay eggs without a rooster. The main reason to have a rooster is to reproduce, which is a limited number of chickens is implemented, and a rooster obviously is not needed, which I think we all agree on that. Hens make noises all day and will sing when one of them lays an egg, and they can be quite loud. They also produce a lot of manure and ammonia build up over time. And the other thing that they had brought up is the avian influenza can be passed to dogs and cats who come into contact with chicken feces as well. Again, allowing coops to be close to neighbors' property line runs the risk of feces running into yards when rain and runoff, which is what they brought up to neighbors' dogs and stuff. Again, just points that were brought up that I didn't know, and I think the public should be aware of. That's all. And we'll keep moving on down the line there to Amy.
Everything you guys already talked about, I was gonna say, so it's pretty much, because I read hers and did a little bit look up on it, and yeah, they're talking about rodents coming into the yards and coyotes, and I have been seeing them a lot more here in Rockwood than I used to. So, yes, pretty much that's it for me.
If we did pass it, who would supervise it?
Right.
Would it be the police officers?
Or would get a city
I
ordinance
don't
at that
even know
point.
who would.
Well, I want to bring that point
Yeah,
up real quick
that's the
too.
main-
Is it was brought up last time that we don't enforce ordinances, and that's I don't want the public to think that we do enforce ordinances. We have a police our detective goes out and writes ordinance tickets. We send them out. They actually go out weekly. So I don't want the public to think that just because we don't have a dedicated ordinance officer that we don't write tickets. We do. Our police do write ordinance tickets. So ordinances are enforced within the city. And there is talk and there is a plan being put together after the first year of possibly hiring an ordinance officer anyway. So there's plans being made, but I just want the public to realize that we do write ordinance tickets and police do enforce that. But the police department would obviously
Would
enforce
have
it
to do it, okay.
until we would hire, if we were to hire an enforcement officer.
Not put an extra load on them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the whole point of an ordinance officer would be to lower how much we're burdening our police force with.
Sure. So,
Okay.
I would invite anybody from the public maybe that wants to come up and speak on this. Anybody, any hands? Anybody want to come up and speak on this? Sure. Come up to the podium. Come on up, ma'am.
Okay.
Name and address real quick, and you know the routine, right?
I gotta save my time and can't talk too long because I said the.
We try and limit it to 3 to 4 minutes if
don't run out
possible.
the batteries in the mic. Well, first of all, I've lived in Rockwood most of my life. Okay, 25 years now. And
Name and address real quick. I'm sorry.
Christine Yankalora, address 21823 Roosevelt.
Thank you.
Well, the problem is that we already have a rodent problem in Rockwood. You may not know, but I've last 3 years only, I've been having trouble with voles, which is, it's similar to a mole, the same family, but they kill your grass, can eat your shrubs and stuff like that. I never had that other than 3 years ago because of plight in Rockwood. Now you're inviting them with chicken coops, say, you know, paradise. They'll have feed, they'll have water, they'll have, you know, a warmth area and stuff like that. And I just think it's just gonna get worse from it. Right now, I think I don't know how many you're gonna allow, but isn't there an ordinance that we have to keep it down for dogs and cats? If you allow 6 chickens, can we have 6 dogs, 6 cats? I mean, where's it end? And as far as chickens being therapy, well, I'd like to have one of those little tiny goats jumping around in my backyard, you know? I mean, talk about therapeutic, I could watch them all day. But I just think that you really need to look at this and ask if you wanna continue to have a rodent problem get worse by having chickens. They definitely need to be anti-rodent. The building inspector would have to come out, inspect it. I certainly don't want, as a citizen, the police department doing that. Right now, yes, we do have call-ins for ordinances, but it's really an on-call basis. So basically, you're asking the neighbor to, you know, call in their neighbor, and that can also bring on animosity, even though it's anonymous and stuff like that. So I think that if we do have them, that they really need to be monitored, they need to be inspected, you need to have a building inspector to come out and make sure it's a rodent-free type, and that we don't have any of this runoff. I didn't even think about the runoff. I know about the chicken feed, the water, and the warmth for the rodents and stuff like that, but I didn't even think about the runoff. I know Woodhaven, they have to have 10 feet from their property line, and the feed has to be in plastic buckets because not just feed in the feed that for storage and that. So anyways, that's my 2 cents.
To go off your 2 cents here, some of the proposed things that Jim, our attorney, had given to us under proposed provisions, and I'll read these reference what you're talking about. Chicken coop or pen would be fully enclosed. Coop must provide not less than 4 square feet for each chicken. Coop must contain only 12-inch by 12-inch nest box in the ratio of 1 nest box for each 3 line chickens. Must be kept in sanitary conditions free of offensive odors. A permit required to meet ordinance specifications and proof that no private restrictions for the proposed parcel. No chickens on parcel with more than 1 dwelling. Obviously no slaughter of chickens. Non-commercial basis only. Coop shall meet any other city building and zoning requirements for detached accessory buildings. All structures, feed, and other items associated with keeping chickens constructed, maintained, and stored to prevent rats, mice, or other rodents and vermin. Structures and enclosures shall not use tarps, plastic, fabrics, rubber, paper, cardboard, or other non-traditional building materials. And each chicken shall be kept in compliance with the Michigan Department of Agriculture, generally accepted agriculture and management practices for laying chickens as may be amended. Those are all proposed things if we were to go forward that we would be looking at. So yeah, there would be strict regulations.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like brought up, is the monitoring and then the inspection as
Well,
you move
yep.
forward in that. I mean, how often are you talking about inspections? Or is it just a neighbor calling on a neighbor that, you know, the smell and that?
I mean, I can
I'll let you
probably
speak.
answer that a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, right now, most of our ordinances, that's how they work.
Right.
I mean, we don't go and over inspect everything over and over again, like a building gets inspected, you know, and if it completes it, it does. Our blight ordinances, we probably do rely on some, you know, people complaining about it unless, you know, the officers are driving around and see it or something's brought up, so it's probably gonna be more like that. You could put something in there more that they would have to be inspected more. I mean, that's obviously something that could be done. That probably put a little more of a burden on the police department at this point than maybe necessary. Permit wise, you could do it with requiring, you know, right now I had proposed, you know, that you want a permit, that they're complying with everything to start with, but that's usually a one-time thing, but you could have it have to be renewed at least annually so that it would be inspected, or they would have to, you know, show and get the permit annually with potentially an inspection at that point.
Well, but will it have to be, the coop be approved by the building inspector?
Yes, basically,
building-
it would be like building a shed or anything that you need to get a permit for as an accessory building, that
So
they
they
would
have-
have to comply with that, so.
They'd
Yeah,
have to
they'd have
bring
to
in
come in
strong
with the
drawings.
plans. Yeah,
sorry.
they'd have to come in with plans and show what they were planning on doing, how they were gonna keep the feed and, you know, the fencing and everything that's required, the building, you know, what's basically required if you're building an accessory building. You'd have to come in, get the permit, and an inspection to approve that it was done in compliance at that point. But after that, I mean, I hadn't
Yeah.
proposed, but that's a
I think that's a good
potential,
idea.
you know, of annual inspections. Usually you just do it as almost part of a permitting process, because in the second year, you don't need a permit to build it, it's already built, but potentially a permit with an inspection that you're compliant with it and it's all still in compliance to get that new permit.
Right, so that they know that they need to continue what they had signed up to
Yes,
agree
that-
to.
Now that's not likely to satisfy some of the issues because of the runoff and stuff like, I mean, you don't, that might not happen during that inspection. I mean, you still may have to rely on, are these, you know, chickens getting out? Is the fence deteriorating in between that 1 year? I don't think that's terribly likely, but it's potential that some of those things could happen.
Or at least have a limit on how many complaints they have, that after so many complaints and they don't comply, they have to terminate the coop.
Sure, I mean, there's caveats.
Not the chickens, the coop.
Yeah, I mean, there's caveats, it could be adjusted, you know,
Yeah,
like any ordinance can be adjusted, you know. I mean, other provisions that he has down here are so many feet from obviously the property line and the dwelling in maximum height, and also would we require a privacy fence around the yard, you know? That could be another caveat, so people can't look in and see all these chickens, you know?
right.
I mean, there's a lot of different caveats that can be added to this.
But my only concern is the rodent, because we already have, and we do have, I mean, the city property, I would just mention this, is beautiful. I mean, you've done a great job in, you know, cleaning out a lot around, but it's, the residential is still in a lot of areas. I'm not gonna mention places, but in per need of some addressing, but, you know, that's for a different workshop.
Yeah,
Okay.
the rodents, interesting, probably already fall under other things because blight's one of the things that brings rodents in too. And,
Right.
you know, if you have stuff blight on your property right now that's attracting rodents, that's an ordinance violation. So that almost, although we would put that in, you know, this ordinance that you have to, you know, keep containers and things to avoid, you know, to prevent it from happening.
Yeah, Because it's not just my house, there's a whole block on the street that have vole problems.
And we're already
I
writing
think
blight
I've
tickets.
gotten
I mean,
like 5 of them this
Yeah,
past
I mean, we
year.
do write them.
yeah, we write blight tickets already,
I don't
so.
think you have any blight on that street though, do you?
Well, voles like tall grass, and even though we have an ordinance on
Okay.
tall grass, you know, they're just getting it cut, you know, where they don't get called or anybody calls on them. But the voles like tall grass, they like to burrow in tall grass. Well, they also like lawns that are nice. So people who keep up their lawns, they go, oh, hey, look at this lawn, you know, let's go over there. It's, you know, it tastes better, you know, than the person that has weeds. So, you know, and then anything you've kept in your backyard and stuff like that, they like, you know, burrowing and things, you know, hiding and stuff. So, you know, something's happened. It's like the last 3 years, it's been a problem, and I've lived here most of my life. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, yeah, come on up, ma'am. Just name and address, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I live at 22860 Huron River Drive. We are directly across the street from a gas station, a restaurant, and our beautiful Huron River. So in regards to varmints, rats, I see them across the street all the time. We have chickens. We got them just this past spring or summer. I would like to also say that we do not have any rats in our backyard. I think anybody who owns even dogs, cats, they don't want to mess. Anybody owning cats isn't necessarily letting the litter box overflow. Same thing with people that own chickens. Most of the people I know that have chickens, coops are very nice, yards are very nice. Looking at the front of my house, you wouldn't think that, you know, we have chickens in the backyard. Our neighbors really enjoy them. My one neighbor really, really likes them because she dumps all her dead-headed flowers, poop, right over into our yard so the chickens can eat them. And the chickens very much enjoy them. My kids absolutely love them. It's been a great learning resource for them, especially with responsibilities and chores. They do a lot of the care for the chickens in the morning. You know, when I drop them off at school, obviously I go make sure that they have done it correctly and everything's good. I understand people have a lot of concerns, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I would be concerned too if, you know, I wasn't in favor. But I think if you let people have faith in your citizens that they're gonna do the proper upkeep. I don't think a lot of people that are getting chickens are gonna let it just destroy everything. I mean, I'm constantly in there cleaning poo, probably every day, twice a day. I don't like things that stink, so that's fun. You know, when we get our eggs, that's one thing that my mom always says, my brother, because we pretty much just give our eggs to family, and they're like, they're always so clean, and I'm like, well, because we keep a clean coop. And I would just like to say that I think that's probably going to be less of a problem than more of a problem. It may seem like this is like a big endeavor, like especially with like getting the ordinance and getting all these rules, but I really think a lot of people are going to follow a lot more of the rules rather than not, because you are taking care of a living animal, a living creature. They are kind of just like dogs. They have personalities, which I didn't think so at first. This is something that my husband kind of just dropped on me one day. He just kind of came home with them. But it's been a lot of fun, and he's started his own business, so he's been working a lot more lately, so I've taken over a lot of that burden, and I feel like if you just have faith in your citizens, they'll do what they're supposed to do. I mean, it's driving up and down the street, you know, we're not necessarily in the neighborhood, so a lot of the issues that maybe they're having, it's a lot different for us. Our yard is a lot bigger. There's noise all day long, and not from anybody else, just from traffic, from the trucks, the dump trucks that go down our street starting at 3 a.m. And I think there's also maybe I don't want to say like a different ordinance, but or maybe like a different, because I would imagine that a few of the people that do have chickens in Rockwood are off of Huron River Drive. And for anybody in the neighborhoods complaining of a noise complaint, for us, it's kind of like, well, do I call the city every day and complain about the trucks that are coming down the street every single day, or the cars that are speeding out of the gas station at 2 a.m? I work midnights from home, so I see a lot of the riffraff that happens just across the street from people that probably aren't even in this city, that don't even live here. Garbage every day in my front yard from people tossing it out their window as they drive down. So I just hope that you guys take that into consideration too, that, a lot of us are trying, a lot of us we want to do the right thing. And I think you're going to find that more people with the chickens are going to do the right thing than not. I guess that's all I have to say.
Can I ask you, how big is your yard?
We have like a lot and a half, I believe it is,
So
or
would that be
almost like a double
Half
lot.
acre, quarter acre?
I think it's a quarter, just under a quarter,
And you
or
live-
just.
I'm trying to visualize where you live,
So there's
because I got the
There's one-
restaurant and the
yes,
gas
the restaurant and the
station.
gas station. So we are like
There's a corner.
directly across the street.
So
There's 2 houses
there's
from.
a corner house that has you can sit
Yes.
outside, so you'd be left to that then, right?
So if you're standing at the gas station looking at all the houses, there's 2 houses on this side, 2 houses on this side. We're right in the middle. We're the one with the really nice big porch. That's what everybody tells us. We just recently moved here last November. So we've only been here a year. But my son has gone to Gibraltar School District since he was kindergarten. So
And you
he's
said
at
your
Carlson
husband
now.
just brought him home?
He just brought him home one day. He's a little impulsive, but he.
Is
Our-
it to
our-
raise, to get the eggs, or just the?
No, he just had the chicks. He was at Family Farm and Home, and our coop. It looks like a shed. It's very nice. It's very large.
Can I ask how many chickens you have?
So we are, we started out with quite a bit. We did have a lot die, which happens a lot with chickens. Especially your dual breed chickens, which are your bigger chickens, and they get heart failure, they get lung disease, they get vitamin deficiency very easily. And you will walk in one day and you're like, oh, dead chicken. It's never fun, it's never nice. We don't have a favorite chicken anymore. As we found out when we did have a favorite chicken, it was kind of like a death sentence. So we're like, okay, no more favorites. We do have right now, between 15 and 20, like I said, we've had a lot pass away. We started out with quite a bit. I'm not going to say the number exactly. I don't want any judgment or anything.
Right, but the only reason I say that is because the council didn't come here a month or 2 ago to talk about chickens. We're here because we keep getting complaints at City Hall.
Right.
That's why we're here. It was brought to our attention, and it keeps coming to our attention. That's why we're even here tonight, because we're made to act on this now.
Right.
Somebody's not loving it.
Somebody's not loving it.
Right. Well, and that,
So,
and then
actually,
that's
not just somebody. There's several people.
yeah.
So that's why we're here, and
Yeah.
and I just wanted to make that point. Is just like anything in life, nobody loves everything,
Right.
And when somebody complains, we have to act on it also. That's all.
Right. But like, is it a complaint of, the coop is deteriorated or they're in
No.
a shabby condition, or is it just because they're a nuisance and they're loud?
Well, a lot of it's loud. The many of them. Do you have a rooster?
We did. He
'Cause,
passed
yeah,
away.
Yep, that was one of the complaints also.
Yeah, and that he wasn't anything that we were going to keep. That
Right.
was something that just happened. It was,
Sure.
you can't really like sex a chicken. It's kind of hard to.
Yeah, I
it's-
don't know
it's-
anything about
Yeah,
chickens.
it's kind of one of those things where you're looking at it and
Right.
you're like, I don't think you're a female.
Right. It's
It's growing a it's
Right.
it's
It's an
getting
imprecise science.
yes.
You squirt them out, you look at them, and you make a good guess.
Yes, exactly. So it's the same thing when you go to pick out your little
Sure.
chicks at the store. You're hoping that.
Right. And again, just so you know, I'm not against here or there.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
think there needs to be restrictions if it's going to happen.
Oh
there
yeah,
needs to
and
be
I
restrictions.
I
So,
wholeheartedly
if
agree.
you look at every other city around here, they have restrictions. You know,
Oh yeah.
all these things are included, and we're outdated, to be honest with you, on a lot of our stuff here.
Yeah.
So that's been a goal of mine to update a lot of things within the city. So before we
Right,
sit
and
here,
and
you
that's
know?
and that's good, and
So-
that's where I have to I understand they can be a nuisance. I understand where other residents are worried about a lot of things,
Sure.
with them, and that's completely understandable. I completely agree. I guess I feel a certain way because with the loud thing, I'm like, it is loud all day long at my house. All day long. So to me, I'm like, and especially with chickens, they're loud during the day. Everybody's loud during the day. Especially in the summertime. So it's how are you going to complain about a
Right.
chicken making some noise for a couple hours a day, maybe, and then go out and do your yard all day
Yeah,
Saturday.
I'm not overly concerned unless it's after ordinance hours.
Right.
We have ordinances for that stuff, noise ordinances.
Right. And
Sure.
that's So
But well, I'm really happy that you came in and talked to us. I appreciate
Yes.
hearing from you.
it took a bit to get here.
Sure,
I got
I
3
understand.
kids, and
I understand.
it's right at dinner time. So I'm,
Yep, I understand.
my husband's
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it home. So I'm talking to my 17-year-old, want to watch your little sisters? No, not really. He doesn't.
No.
I just have a question on the chickens. So, and excuse me, I don't know anything about chickens.
No,
either.
that's fine.
So,
I can help.
do they go to the vets, or how
So-
do we know when they get sick? I guess
So
that's the question, right?
chickens are very good at they're prey animals.
Okay.
So they are very good at masking when they are sick. They not only are they prey animals, but they're flock mentality. Nobody wants to get sick because the flock is going to look at you and is
weak.
awful as this may sound. Yes, they're going to be like, you're weak. You need to go. Bye-bye. So they're very good at masking when they're sick. So when you finally do see there's probably something wrong with this chicken, it's probably too late at that point, and the chicken may die within a couple hours, couple days. Or if you do notice something, you can take what we do now, when we had the vitamin deficiency issue, which we weren't sure why. Pecking order has a lot to do with it. They can't get to the good feed, right away with everybody else. They have to wait, and then maybe they're not getting as much. So now, as a preventive, we give Rooster Booster in their water every, once a week. So we know that everybody's getting all their good stuff. Vitamins, Rooster Booster is a vitamin. But we did take some to the, we had one we took to the vet because it had cross beak, which its beak is overgrown and it's crossed and doesn't file down correctly.
Scott has that.
So yeah, you can take them to the vet. It took me a while to find one that would look at a chicken, but I found her and she's amazing. And now I take my dogs there too. So.
Do you find that you get prey or animals that come into your yard looking for them? Because I've seen coyotes. I live far from you, and
and
a lot of
especially
deer
living across the street from the river and the woods right there. I have not. We do have a privacy. We put up a privacy fence before we even thought about the chickens. That was something we just wanted to do in general. And we've got 2 dogs. There are 3 dogs that I say 2 because my one is getting there. She's getting up there in age. But we have 2 dogs too, so I think that deters a lot of anything out of our yard.
Okay.
But But yeah, I haven't noticed anything coming over.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because I've seen there's a lot of wildlife around.
Oh
here,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I think we're gonna have a lot of wildlife, especially, you know, with as much as Rockwood has been brought up with new houses being built, you know, new businesses going up, you're gonna have an influx of wildlife coming in because ultimately that area is being taken from them.
Yeah.
So that's gonna happen regardless, and
Right.
that's just I think that's just a caveat of humanity coming up.
Any questions this way?
Don't think anymore.
I don't know.
Any questions of us?
Not really.
I appreciate. You can go ahead and step on up if you want. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Heather Smiley, I'm candidate for Congress, and I don't live in your city, so I won't provide my address because it's irrelevant. But thank you for holding the hearing today. So one of the things to think about, so I've owned chickens for almost 30 years. So where she's on the new journey, I've had them for 30 years. And I live in Riverview, so it's an urban environment. One of the things that I'd ask you to think about is, last time I was here, I mentioned the House bill that Rep. DeSena is trying to get passed at the state. From my perspective, the state's already heading in that direction. So you can either be an early adopter, a late adopter, or somewhere in the middle. And the good thing to think about is you're not in uncharted territory here, because urban chickens is, I know the last few years it's become a boom, right? So the cool part is it's kind of scary, I would think, if you're going into uncharted territory and you don't know what questions to ask, or you don't know what rules, regulations, or different things to have. The cool part is you can go to municipalities that are of similar makeup and you can do benchmarking. If you've already been doing it for 5 years, the cool part is, right, you talked about, updating ordinances over time, and, they need a little tweak here or there. The good part about benchmarking is you could go to a municipality that's been in the game for 5 years and, plagiarize shamelessly. They've already gone through those growing pains. So the cool part is that you would be starting out and dirtfoot doing it right the first time. So that's something to think about. So it's really not uncharted territory. A couple questions that you guys asked earlier. So in terms of predators, so I've had most of the chickens that I've had for most of the years have been free range, but I know, for example, you probably think of like coyotes and stuff. I worry more about hawks, because even if I have a tall fence, the hawks will come down from above. So, but I know when the hawks are hunting. All the animals hunt in the fall, right? Because they want to get calories before winter comes. So, because I'm experienced in the rearing of chickens, it's not a problem for me. It's like kind of autopilot. But one of the things that you can learn from an urban. I have about 4 acres. I know you're thinking, where do you have 4 acres in Riverview? But I have what's left of the original homestead, so I'm an exception. But there's certain times of year I do have a pen, and I keep them in an open pen. They can't get out, and then. At the critical time when I know the hawks are going to be around, then I put them in a different area that has a lid on it. So then I don't have to worry about them swooping down. So that probably wouldn't be the case maybe for a lot of the areas in your city. But I guess I want to leave you with this. It's kind of scary when you don't know all the questions to ask and you don't have familiarity with this concept of raising chickens in a city. But like I said, the benchmarking is out there and it's easy to do. And I highly recommend that you guys do that so that you'd be hitting the ground running. And from a municipal perspective, knowing that the state's already, I mean, it could be in committee for a couple years, but knowing the city or the state is already kind of heading in that direction, Rockwood might set itself apart from other cities because it knows that legislation is likely to come down the pipeline, so that you guys would be more ahead of the curve than behind the curve. So, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah.
Sure.
So 2 questions. When you say homestead, are you grandfathered into owning the chickens, or are they allowed in Riverview?
I'm grandfathered.
So you're grandfathered in?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then how many chickens do you have on 5 acres?
Well, so I have them for my personal consumption, but when you mentioned, that was another thing. So when you mentioned about how much they lay, so they don't lay in the summer because it's cooking hot and they're putting all their energy into like cooling themselves. And when it's really cold, they don't lay eggs. So I pretty much don't get any eggs in the heat of the 90-degree weather. I don't get any eggs when it's really hot. And maybe today I'll have some when I go home. But when it's really, really cold, they don't lay because they're conserving their energy to keep themselves warm. So it's pretty much, when you say, because they lay one a day. If they lay one a day and they don't lay in the winter time, or they don't lay them in the the middle of summer, then I've gone out and had to buy eggs because they weren't laying enough. So it's not consistently one egg every day. So I don't know if that answers your question or.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So in the winter, and forgive me, I don't know, but
that's
are they
okay.
are they just stay outside in the pen? Is that what they do? In the freezing cold?
So when it's really cold, it would be the same thing. So you talked about the requirements for egg or even for pets, right? If it's really cold, you leave them in. So my chickens, are inside, and they don't like walking around in the snow either.
So when you say inside, they have like a
Yeah,
house or
inside
Yeah,
something?
where? House?
in my coop.
In a coop.
Oh,
Yeah.
So there's some shelter they can go in to get out
Oh,
of the
yeah.
wind, and then
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
heat, like you have heat lamps in there or something for them, or
When it's really cold, I put heat lamps in there. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So I guess I'm sorry, just one more.
That's
follow-up
okay.
question. So is there any fear for like hazards as far as fires? Are these heat lamps, are they approved in there?
So that's a good question. So it's the same thing, for example, with any heater, right? You have the heaters that tip over and they shut off. The ceramic heaters, I usually go with the ceramic heaters because they're safer.
Mm-hmm.
But you would do the same thing in your house. I mean, you often might do the same thing in your house. But if you're in a shop in your garage, you might have one of those bullet propane heaters, for example. So, but you're not going to put a propane heater in a chicken coop. I mean, you have fried chicken, right? Yeah.
Skip the
So,
middleman.
Yeah. Who needs Colonel Sanders?
I had a question. Can
Yeah.
you describe your chicken's behavior in the evening time, late overnight, and then early morning?
Yep. So the saying, when the chickens come home to roost, I mean, it's a common saying. They really do it. So as it gets, so they have a circadian rhythm just like we do, and in the evening they come in. Whether it's in my fenced area or they're free range, they come in at nighttime, and then I lock them in so that nothing, messes with them.
I was just going to ask you about as far as noise.
Singing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
So-
singing.
Okay.
Someone had
Oh,
mentioned
yeah,
singing at
okay.
night. Can you speak
So-
to that?
Everybody's heard blue jays?
Mm-hmm.
Blue jays are kind of loud. Chickens are actually, in my opinion, quieter than blue jays. And usually they, the only time they get make any noise is when they lay, when they're dropping their egg. So that they make a little bit of noise then. And you know, if they're squabbling over something, but it's not any louder. It's actually, I think in my mind, it's quieter than a blue jay. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quieter than a dog.
It's quieter than a blue jay. So normally they're just, you know, I'll call it cooing, you know, like a mourning dove coos when they're foraging for food on the ground. It's kind of like, it's relaxing. Any other questions?
How many was it that you said you had?
So I have 4 right now.
4.
Yeah.
4 chickens
Yeah.
on how many acres? I'm sorry, 5 you said?
A 4.
4 acres on
Yeah.
5, okay.
Yeah.
And when
But-
you say free range, I'm sorry, so free range, they're not in the pen, they're not in the coop, they're just
They go wherever
basically
they want.
They go in anywhere they want.
Yeah.
Okay. No issues there?
No.
Okay. How high is your fence? Can they jump over the fence? Have they ever gotten out?
So I don't even have a fence around my yard but I have a fenced area for the chickens. So like I said, I can do free range and they just go wherever they want. They go into the shrubs. If you have a grub problem or you have, and you know, there was talk of mice or rodents, they're fair game. Chickens are not vegetarians, trust me. So they'll go after them. But when the chickens are free range, you know, like I said, they come home in the evening and they go in there to the coop and I close them in for the night. When I have them in the fenced area, so my fenced area is about, I don't know, maybe 5 feet tall, but it's the 2x4, it's the like mesh wire, kind of like the bricks, you know, the pattern on the bricks, it's like that metal fence. Yeah, so I like it because the breeze goes through and the bugs go through. They eat the bugs. It's a good thing. So that's what I have. It's about a, 5 feet tall fence, and they don't get out.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. All right.
Appreciate
So
it.
in closing, I think you should really seriously look at just benchmarking, because then if you make a decision going forward, somebody already's done your homework for you. And the cool part is, like you said, if you have a couple of early adopters, maybe you do it as a test and you open it up for a couple of residents to do it as a test. If they're going to do it, they're going to be serious about it like she is. They're going to make the investment because they want to set a good precedent for other people to have the opportunity. So those will probably be the good ones. And then, worst case, if you get some feedback, you can tweak the ordinances, or if it's not working out, somebody's going to have a chicken dinner. So, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir? No. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good evening. My name is Gerald Thomas. I'm on the Taylor City Council, and I'm here for research. And I have to say, I thought our council chamber was cold. You guys must have really short meetings.
Usually.
Tight budget.
Very good discussion, very good talking points. I'm very impressed. Like Mayor Cox alluded to earlier, I didn't run for city council to talk about chickens. I got ambushed at a local Home Depot by a gentleman who I found out later on was like the king of chickens in Taylor, trying to advocate for us to change our ordinance to allow them. And we had a very good discussion. And on the fly, I had to tell him, that, density matters, tight neighborhoods matter. You have to have some type of acreage. There can't be any roosters. And then I went home and typed up a statement and put it out there on social media that I would explore, that I would have discussions about having chickens, but I'm only one vote. This has to be worked out with the administration and 6 other council members. And abracadabra, the election's over and no one's talking about chickens anymore. But I'm still on the hunt, looking for ideas, and I plan on getting the ordinances of communities that do allow chickens, so that way we can hit the ground running in case we are forced into changing our ordinance. Jim DeSena is one of two representatives that represents Taylor. Thank you very much, Jim, for bringing this up. He lives in Monroe, so he doesn't have a problem down there. But I'm learning a lot. I thought about our animal wardens registering chickens, but now I understand that chickens don't live very long, so that won't work. 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years. So I'm wondering if someone is violating the ordinance over and over again, and then you finally decide, okay, you can't have chickens anymore. So what do you do with the chickens? You know, you don't want to euthanize chickens, but this person is violating the ordinance to where their neighbors can't have peaceable enjoyment of their property. So I'm interested to find out how other communities work that issue out.
Yeah, me too.
I would say, just off the cuff, I would say that would be up to the resident to figure out a way to rehome those chickens.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
push it back on them. You can't have them. You have to get rid of them.
And then, you have 30 days to, vacate the premise or something like that. That's just me coming up with an idea. I don't think that would be on the city to determine what should be done with the chickens.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I don't want to take up very much of your time. We had a meeting last night. I don't want to talk anymore.
Question, so do you anticipate Taylor going?
Well, like I said,
the chicken route?
Well, the issue has died. We have one councilman who's very enthusiastic about investigating the chickens because he made a promise that he was going to try. I didn't make any promises.
Yeah.
I made one promise. I did, to address the towing issue, and we did that. So that was the biggest issue. I thought
Years.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
You remember me, do you, Gerald? That came from Taylor.
Oh no.
Police department.
Oh no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Tim's got some issues over there. I know he's dealing with. So
yeah, I'm going to tell you a little something. Apparently it's not over. So yeah.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, but for now it is.
Right.
So very good.
Well, if you need anything this way, please, any of us, please reach out.
Okay.
Let us know,
That, and if
whatever
you have
need.
any other good plans or found anything else,
Okay.
help us with that. We'd appreciate
And
it.
if we move forward, whatever we move forward with, we can reach out to you. You got a card or leave us some cards, or
Yes,
and
I do.
we can let you know what we come up with too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Get some heat in here.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, we did have, and I think it got turned off.
Yeah.
It's hard to regulate in here, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Yes.
67.
Anybody else from the public want to speak? All right,
I think
ma'am. All right. How you doing?
Good. So my name is Melissa Fava. I live at 22909 Huron River Drive. So I'm the house right next to the gas station for folks that are always like, who's on Huron River Drive? So we don't have a rat problem where we're at, but I wanted to sort of address the predator issues. I completely agree. You're going to be more concerned with birds. We had an eagle on the river just this weekend. The last time that we saw a coyote, we have cameras, so we got that, was about 4 or 5 years ago, was the last time that we had a coyote in the yard.
Just the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're at the Rebel there,
So,
next to the
yep.
Rebel. Okay. Yeah.
Yep, next to the Rebel.
can
So
I-
maybe there's enough activity where they don't want to come.
Can I just
by
interrupt you?
anymore.
Do you own chickens?
No, I do
Okay,
not own
okay.
chickens. My sister owns chickens though, so I've
okay.
asked her a lot about what you need. And one thing I'd like to say is, like she said, that the chickens are way more expensive to own than to buy eggs. You're not going to be saving any money because of the feed, the care, and everything else. So if people think
Yes.
that this is like a windfall, it's not going to be a windfall.
Sure.
So she has a coop and she has a fenced in pen that she has like a fenced in cover for when the birds are an issue. So she doesn't have like a privacy fence around her property because of where she's in a wooded area, so that wouldn't really be effective. One thing I wanted to ask though is we have like on here lot size requirements, And I was just wondering, like, what is the average size of a lot in Rockwood where if you said, okay, it needs to be a half acre, how many households actually fall into that? Like, are you going to sort of solve the problem by making a restrictive ordinance where you can say, we've allowed chickens, and really it's only going to affect, 10% of the population? I think that's one way to sort of limit your exposure to risk here. Another thing that I would do is, in looking at some of the proposed provisions, is making sure that they're not going to conflict with each other. Like, if you need a certain amount of space for chickens, and you say we allow 5 chickens, we allow you need to have 4 square feet. That means you need 20 square feet, 5 by 4. I don't know. I don't do math very well on the fly. But then if you say, okay, and we have a maximum size that's 15 square feet, you've already just kind of created a conflict there between, okay, I can have 5 chickens, they need this much space, but the maximum coop size is X. That would limit me to 3 chickens. And then the last thing that I just wanted to mention is, whatever the ordinance should be, I think it should be reflective of species appropriate care. Chickens, again, they're flock animals, so you wouldn't want to limit it to, like, you can only have 1 chicken, because that's not appropriate for the animal itself. So making sure that your requirements for shelter are appropriate for the fowl, that it's, you don't say that you need to have heat and you need to have whatnot if that's not appropriate for that animal. So, like, I have a horse. She lives out, not in Rockwood, so before anybody panics, I board my horse elsewhere, but she lives outside 24/7. She has shelter that she can enter. Sure. She gets blanketed, but some people will say, oh no, they need to be in a stall. That's not actually species appropriate or required. So just when you're thinking over your ordinances, I would check into that and make sure that those are all applicable. And I completely agree with benchmarking across other communities. And I would warn against adding things that you think that they've missed, because if it's not there, it might be that they had something and they took it out because it was ineffective. And you might be thinking that, oh, we have this great idea, nobody's thought of this. Well, they did, it didn't work, and they took it out. So I would encourage even discussing with different cities that have similar ordinances that are allowing chickens. I'm also on the planning commission, and I think we've had folks come in for other cities when we've talked about different development things, where we said, hey, what have you done there? I think it was Trenton that came in and gave us some input at one of those meetings. So that's just the last thing that I would suggest. So thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you
for
very
that.
much.
Appreciate
Great
it.
points, thank you.
Okay. Sir, come on up.
As you already know, Chuck Slavin, 23407 Woodruff. There's a couple of issues, I think, which are separate. First I'll mention is the nuisance issue. Nuisance is a subjective, very subjective term. People being people, you're never going to solve that problem. No matter what we do, people are going to complain, and that's life. So I wouldn't put too much emphasis on trying to find something to take care of the nuisance issue. The thing that would concern me, and particularly because Jesse brought it up, is the disease, the rodents issue. That is a concern. I don't know how much a concern. I'm not enough a scientist, a biologist to know, but it's a definite concern. I would suggest that when we go, and I'll put a third thing in. I don't really worry about, I don't think the government needs to worry about, I don't think we need to worry about the lifestyle of the chickens. I would suggest that, and I do believe we should allow chickens, I would suggest we concentrate on just any provision we put in, we should weigh, is this going to help the safety and health issue? And I'm not worried, I don't think we should put anything in that worries about any other issue.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah, come on up.
Oh, my mind just went blank. I understand that the street that I live on is very quiet, and I hoping that it stays quiet. The only time we ever hear anything is lawnmowers or somebody, doing their grass or something like that.
Or the train.
Well, that's a train. Well, you kind of, yeah. Well, that's only for a little, not too long. So, if whether we have chickens or not chickens, I just thought of something that when you said that people are complaining that people have chickens, knowing that there's an ordinance against chickens, but yet they still have them in the city. I mean, we don't have people that follow the ordinance. When I do something, I always check to see if there's an ordinance, and I follow the ordinances of the city because, that's what they're there for, is to help us live in a nice environment, and they're there for a purpose. But we didn't even enforce what we have, yet how are you going to enforce something that we're not even enforcing as it is? That you have an ordinance to monitor and inspect, are we really going to do it? Or is it going to be like what we have now, where it's not even enforced?
If I could speak to that.
I think it was just brought to our attention. We didn't know this had been happening.
Well, you said numerous neighbors were complaining about
Just
it.
within the
and
last
stuff like
2-3 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
this just came to our attention.
I think that's why we're discussing it,
That's why we're
because
here,
it was
yeah.
difficult to enforce the ordinance because of the verbiage. And I think that's part of the reason why we're here, is to say, hey, we've got some complaints now. This is a little vague, and so we need to make a decision as council to really kind of tighten this up so that it can be enforced.
But as Mr. Johnson said, that we have an ordinance that does not allow chickens.
Well, it's
the way it's written.
Yeah.
It's
It's
yes,
not.
it
It's
could
not.
be,
It's not
and it might
explicit
not be.
enough. It's not
Yeah,
explicit
it's not
enough to
very-
enforce. Yeah.
It's like a chicken is a chicken.
No. I'm pretty confident we cannot have them right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the ordinance,
Domestic-
You have a good point.
I've got the ordinance,
Yes.
it's pretty clear, that says no domestic fowl is allowed.
I'm just saying that,
Oh, that's a good
when I
point.
put a
But
hot
I-
tub
No, I
in,
know, but other people
I
are
had
arguing.
to jump through
They're looking
hoops.
at the wrong ordinance, that's part of the problem. We
When I had
will
to
change
get
this.
something, I had to jump through hoops just to get a hot tub, it gotta be this close to
well-
the electric, it can't be that, this is something, and but this doesn't affect the health of, potentially,
understand.
just the
It
potential.
was just brought to the city's attention within the last few weeks, and we're not the Gestapo. We're not going to run over there and tear out the
It's-
coop. We're going to solve the problem diplomatically if we can, and we're going to come to a conclusion as a city if we can, because
What
we all
if
live in this
it's-
village together,
It's
And we
if
will
it's
enforce it
made
once
to
we
the
come
health
up
of
with
the public, it's for the, what the majority wants, not what minority wants.
Of
Too
course,
bad we
that's
maybe-
why we're
maybe
having,
need to
that's
put
why
this
we're
on
having
the
civil,
ballot.
that's why we're having civil discourse and conversation to discuss this.
Yeah.
That's why we have public here
Yeah,
to
I-
get input, to
I
figure out
really
what the best
appreciate
course of
that.
action is,
Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd like to add, I did interview 4 residents in the city, and all 4 were in favor with certain stipulations. And I wanted to just mention, I mentioned at the last meeting, but I just wanted to mention some of their suggestions and see what you think about them. Whether or not I agree with them is really up for the discussion. But I had mentioned one resident said she thought it would be appropriate if you would limit the complaints. Let's say someone had 2 complaints, right, and then they're not able to renew their permit, or there's some sort of action taken as far as whether it's through an ordinance officer, or again not allowing the chickens on their property again the following year or 30 days.
And that is something that we do with ordinances now. If they violate, one time might be a civil infraction, next time it might raise it to a misdemeanor.
Sure.
I mean, this happens already. There's steps in our ordinances already, so.
Sure. And then she had also made the suggestion, and I'd be open for discussion, which is why I'm bringing it here, that you get the consent of 2 out of 3 neighbors, and if you're not friends with those neighbors or you're not on speaking terms, that you at least send a letter, certified mail or something like that, just to inform the neighbors. And so I thought those were two interesting points that she had brought up. And then she had also mentioned, what if this is a probationary thing? Like someone had mentioned, you could do this could be a trial over a year. But along with that, I want to mention, she had also said, chickens are somewhat high maintenance, and when you pay for the chicken and you pay for the coop and you go through the process of getting a permit, you know, you're invested in these chickens, and so you want to protect them from prey. So she had mentioned, you know, I don't leave my coop open, and I don't leave my pets vulnerable to prey. I do everything I can to make sure that I'm not attracting you know, animals and things like that, as far as keeping things locked up in plastic containers and making fences or whatever the necessary measures are. These are things that people think about when they have pets, right? They're protective of their pets. And so that's one thing to consider. And then as someone came up and spoke about the rat issue, there was also offered a solution to the rat issue in that statement, saying that we could, you know, keep things, I think it was listed in plastic airtight containers. Item J, feed and other items associated with keeping chickens constructed, maintained, and stored to prevent, I think that should say rats, mice, or other rodents, vermin. So I think that's a solution to that problem.
And
Yeah.
I personally, I wouldn't say plastic. Rats and mice are going to be able to chew right through that. I would say metal. We have ours in a metal garbage bin.
I have mine in a metal garbage.
Rats and mice will chew
right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I don't think it's like plastic, I think it's like to maintain or store to prevent.
Yeah, it just says maintain and store to prevent. So.
That was a typo though with rings.
All right. Anything else? I know we're coming up on time here. Anybody from the public want to speak anymore? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, he had asked about the cold weather with the chickens. Chickens' body temp ranges anywhere from 105 to 107 degrees. So they can withstand, they're very cold hardy. Most of your chicken breeds are very cold hardy. So I had my chickens out there when it was, 10 or 9 degrees the other day, and they were up in the roosting bars just fine, no heat lamp, nothing.
Okay.
Just as long as the drafts are kept off of them.
I think the only thing I would say is there was talk about a trial period of doing it. I think that's kind of a dangerous slope to be on, because if these people try it, they're investing a lot of money to do this, and then if you tell them no, you can't do it, that's not going to be a good way to go. I think you kind of have to be
Yes or no?
in on it and plan on doing it, and then
Good point,
restrict their ability if they don't follow the guidelines. But I think it's hard to do a trial period or even allow only so many people to get it in the city and let them try it. I don't know if that's really fair. How do you decide then who's the best candidates to do it?
Right.
But to then say, nope, we decided we're not going to do it after someone invests in that is
I
not.
would invite, if you guys would like, you are more than welcome. I am home. I'm a stay-at-home mom. If you want to come and see our chicken setup and get ideas on what maybe you want, maybe you don't want, you are more than welcome. I can leave my contact information.
And just to clarify, I'm not a chicken expert either, but just so you know that there's a difference between free range, a coop only, and a coop and a pen. And those are basically three different concepts, so we're not confusing.
Well,
one of the things that I don't see many cities, I'm not sure if any cities really allow free range chickens at all anyways.
Free range is a bit of a sticky and vague term, depending upon who you're asking. Actually, I gotta make sure I got the right naming here, because actually under the USDA, free range can just simply be there is a gap in their coop large enough for them to stick their head out of. If you do that, the USDA allows you to call it free range. By
I
contrast,
guess that's an issue. Then.
yes, very much. It's a widely recognized issue.
And I don't know if other cities.
Contrast to that, there is,
Because
very
that would
few
mean you
people
only
agree with
allow
their
a
term.
coop. If you're not allowing free range, then there's actually only a coop and not even a pen, I would assume.
Contrast
under
this
that.
to like the certified humane label, which has more the actual on this planet definitions for that.
I guess that's an issue we'd have to look into more for sure.
Yeah.
I think the idea was free range, that we believed was kind of in
Walking
your
around the yard.
backyard,
Yeah.
outside of a
Right.
fenced-in pen.
That's what I was
I
thinking.
take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how normal people think of it.
Well, public, no other questions, concerns? Good. How about council, any other issues, questions?
I just wanted to kind of revisit the issue with someone saying the lot size, and I think it could be either or. You say a lot size, or you say, or you say it's got to be 15 or 20 feet clearance on both sides of the fence, and that could eliminate the issue as well. And rather than saying a lot size, you could say, regardless, I still think that there should be measures further, farthest away from your neighbors. I think Gibraltar uses 15 feet minimum on one side of the fence, 30 total between the dwelling and the coop/pen, and I'm in favor of that. I think that that's definitely a stipulation that needs to be placed in the ordinance.
Absolutely.
And that might help with runoff as well.
So that's correct. That's why I even noted there, if any, you can have a minimum lot size or parcel size.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, you can just have, but you do need to have the offsets.
Yes.
The offsets
Yes.
are
Absolutely.
mandatory,
Yeah.
I would say, but a lot size isn't. But you could say, it's gotta be half acre, quarter acres. I've seen some people, they have acres. Some cities will have, it's gotta be an acre along with the offsets, but you don't have to, not to, say, well, you need 5 acres and no one's got 5 acres in Rockwood,
Right.
so it's kind of meaningless. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, so
But-
maybe what would make most sense for our city would just be then having a clearance specification for, your neighbor.
Your neighbor, right? Being next to them, being up
That would be
against
a
them, their
minimum.
fence line.
Yeah,
I would think
minimum
that-
offsets.
Well, what would you make for the determination of how many chickens then? Because the other ordinances that I went through, it was determined on lot size. If you had a quarter or half acre, you could have 2 or 3 chickens. If you had a half acre, you could have 4 chickens. It was determined on lot size.
So what I've seen on that is you can have a minimum, say
Just a
it's
minimum.
4 or a maximum.
Maximum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have
just a
4.
maximum,
You can
okay.
have 4.
Right.
And obviously then your pen is big enough if you have
Gotcha.
minimum, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have seen where they then go and say, but if you have, it was actually, if you had an acre, you could have 4. If you then had if you had 2 acres, you could add maybe 2 more to it, so it was done like that. So, it's possible a larger lot could have more, but, again, I don't even know how many people in Rockwood would
Right.
that affect. How many,
On the river, people have property, but yeah.
yeah. But yes, I've seen it done like that too. So you can, those, like I said, those are all kind of factors. That's why I put these. That's
Right.
kind of what you have to,
Yeah.
if you want to go forward with the ordinance, which way do you want to do it? Do you want to have minimum lot size? You could. It could be, a quarter acre lot is a relatively small lot.
Right.
That's pretty minimal. An acre lot, on the other hand, you're talking 200 feet by 200 foot lot,
Yeah.
at least, maybe slightly bigger, but and a half acre, 100 foot by 200, which, again, I don't know the lot sizes in Rockwood. I would assume in the downtown here, obviously the lots are smaller.
Yeah.
You also have the issue with private restrictions too. That's what I noted in there. Some of the HOAs have a private restriction.
I was gonna ask about that. What about the HOAs? If someone,
Well, that was, part of what I put in
Don't allow it,
here.
maybe,
When you get a permit, you would have to demonstrate that you don't have a private restriction already in your
HOA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's kind of outside what the city can do. We can't
Right.
trump, because you already went and agreed to that when you bought your lot.
Sure.
So,
Sure. Okay.
I just want to make a comment too. I think whichever way we go, I want to make sure the wording there's no ambiguity in the wording, right?
Sure.
Because I interpret there's no chickens allowed now, and somebody else is seeing something
Right.
different, right?
Right.
So if we do go forward with it, I want to make sure that the wording, because to the point made earlier, I'm leading this one, roosters and free-range fowl to roam freely are prohibited. Well, what is free range defined as? So we could be getting into a lengthy ordinance just with chickens, right?
Well, chickens are pretty specifically chickens, so if
Yeah.
all you're allowing is chickens,
Yeah.
that's just roosters, no other wildfowl, to kind of make it clear, but you're not allowing that.
Right.
Domestic fowl, on
Is
the
a
other
chicken.
hand, is what?
Isn't that a chicken, domestic fowl?
Domestic fowl is a chicken,
Yes.
but
No, it is.
you
yeah.
could also allow ducks too,
Yeah.
and turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be more considered like wildfowl.
Right.
Potentially. So
Yeah.
that's kind of excluding that and making it clear that, trying to make it clear that it is just chickens that you're allowing.
Right.
And yes, if we go forward, there'd be an ordinance drafted. You review it, everyone make sure that, we try to make it as clear as we can.
Yes.
Nothing, I can't always guarantee everything will be perfect on something like that, but after everyone that's why, we have the readings of it, make sure
right.
that everything looks good. But even before we got to that, you would look at it and say, well, I think we need to tweak this or
This will be
put
a-
that in there.
And again, this is why we're here, to be transparent.
And that was part of,
We're
this,
taking
this
a
talk
step
about it.
on what is
I
clearly a
tried
long
to put
process.
Public's
in what
input
I
out.
saw and what I knew,
So-
but again, not being an expert and possibly reaching out to other communities that do it. Because, saying some things, maybe limiting how much feed you can have on site at one time.
Right.
Maybe that is important, maybe it's not. To someone who doesn't have chickens, I
Right.
don't know, but maybe they've already addressed that. Or didn't address it and would have liked to. So I think there's still more to be done, but at some point, do you want to look forward and look into it more or not? That's kind of the question, I guess.
I know we can't take a vote on this during a workshop, but I would like to move forward with a drafted ordinance to present and speak on at council and move forward with this. That's where I stand.
And then I think you could probably do that at a council meeting. If
Sure.
that's what we want to do. That's
Somebody
probably
wants to
the
bring a
approach.
motion at the council meeting,
Yeah, and then we can draft it and kind of go that way.
somebody can bring it up under business, new
With
business.
that said, did anyone have any thoughts on kind of those key things, like the maximum number of
Yeah,
chickens? And
I
stuff like
did
that?
also want to touch, I know we're getting short on time, but
Yeah.
it was brought to my attention too, the terminology commercial, I think is important to define. What does commercial mean? That means something, different to everyone else. Explicitly, is that selling to your neighbor? Is that putting it out on the street? Is that, what does commercial
Or what if
mean?
you just say personal use? Is that shrink it?
Sure,
Personal
that's
use.
probably a better question for the attorney, yeah. But just, I could see that being ambiguous as well.
I would personally just go.
And
to
this was
simply-
just generic, this wasn't a full, like.
Well, when we're
city.
saying non-commercial, which I agree with, I'm just
Right.
saying we should probably define
Yeah,
non-commercial.
I think
Be
the way some
specific.
people
Yeah.
did it, it was non-commercial, but you could sell some to make a local something or to family and friends, which technically is
Commercial.
commercial
Right.
is
Yeah,
Right.
sound
if you're
profit.
getting
Yes.
money for it, it's
Right.
commercial.
Right,
Yeah.
But we didn't want to make it so if you want to make it where it's only for your home personal use, you could do that.
Right.
You can't sell to anyone. I guess give away because that's not really commercial.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the flea
And-
market around us.
to answer your question, I think a maximum number of chickens was suggested somewhere. I can't remember where, but I was just thinking 4.
Right.
And when I interviewed members of the city, they said because they're flock animals that having 1 is not appropriate. But I think 5 is too many, in my opinion. That's
I didn't look at like what people
I think
other.
Brown
You
County
just asked me
Gibraltar
what
are
other
3.
ones had.
I have
Gibraltar's 4.
Is it
Gibraltar's
4?
4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brown's, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And Woodhaven is 6.
And I don't know enough that I think you need at least so many to make it
Yeah.
feasible. So
I mean,
guess 4, but we can propose, I mean, put it in there at 4 right now and
Right.
see what they
Whatever
say.
council, I say 4, but
do we have to
council's
have
here
that
to-
number tonight, or can we?
It's actually more, because if you're gonna want me to put something, unless you just want me to put a blank line in there.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
the number,
Yeah.
I can
Do
do
that.
Do
that.
that,
some
and then we'll
people.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
we
I
should
mean, I-
benchmark other places.
Yeah, I
and
can
see
do
what
that
they're
with the
doing.
offsets now, is that it has to be this far away from a drawing, and just leave it blank at now, so at least you see those. I mean, those are a little bit more straightforward numbers.
Maybe we can talk to somebody that knows more about chickens.
Yeah.
Just to
Well,
get
we can
some
put it
clear
in there.
answers.
We can
I
put,
can-
I mean, I can put the numbers in there, and you can tell me you want me to change either way.
I'm in favor of putting a number in there just so we're not making this process extenuating and 6 months down the road. I think maybe we should just determine a number,
Okay.
and we're all here. I mean, we can even talk about it at the council meeting that's coming up, and just determine a number now. I mean,
Yeah, I think if you make a motion at the to have me draft an ordinance based on what we discussed at the workshop,
Okay.
then I can put it in. You don't have to actually vote on a number, because I think it's better that way, because without approving even doing it, to vote on a number would seem a little jumping ahead of the game, but to say, to draft it in accordance with what we discussed at the workshop. for a
Sure.
proposal.
And then we can just amend it as we wish. Once it's.
Yeah, we can change it before you even vote on it for the first reading or anything.
Yeah,
if
we
you
can
want.
look at it and make sure
Yeah.
that it's clear and concise.
I think that would be a lot better for us than endlessly discussing
Yeah.
it without
Yeah,
anything
I
on
agree.
paper.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, I'm looking at these ordinances.
So let me throw this
I
away.
think
Okay, are we good with the
Marcy's
workshop?
Yeah.
Yes.
We good, Marcy, all set?
yes,
Okay, Randy, you over there?
I think we have to vote to adjourn.
We're good with the workshop, we're gonna close out, and we'll go into the meeting here in a few minutes.